let's get our report card in there. As again, I go to our YouTube page, and we would absolutely love for you to vote on our latest poll question: which Vols played the best? Nico, Dylan, Sampson, the defensive line, the secondary, and we certainly appreciate you Vols time for the super chat that will go to Quincy Calhoun's college fund, just 4 months old. As long as Caleb doesn't invest it and gamble it away, then compound interest is on his side. Caleb, let's get to the report card now. What are you? Dylan Sampson should absolutely be considered for the Heisman Trophy Vols time. Sorry, I almost skipped over that. No question about it. They mentioned that on the broadcast. I'm sure it was because they read my column this week. If I had to fill my Heisman vote out tomorrow, you get 3 selections. Dylan Sampson, I'm pretty sure, would be one of them. If not, he would be right on the verge. And by the verge, you usually know who the top guy is, right, Caleb? Well, you go into it with a pretty good idea. But a lot of times my 3rd, 4th, and 5th are really, really close. And so I think he very well could be on the verge. All right. What do you got? What else? Christine says they should name the field Samson Field. There we go.
There we go. We'll do a report card, then we'll go to Torchbearer. So let's get the report card out of the way. I'm going to start with quarterback, and Dave, I'm going A- for Nico. And you could talk me into an A, honestly, but it just wasn't spectacular. But I don't know. You tell me. A-, A. I'm going A- myself.
I would go A on that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I would go A. I thought he was incredibly solid. I think he missed one pass downfield to his right, if I remember correctly. I thought he ran the ball well. It is odd how, once again, did you notice they try to kind of hide it, but he did go to the injury tent, and he did leave the field just a little bit gimpy. I don't know. Maybe they just need to kick him square in the where right before the game, and that'll make him play better, because he appears to play better hurts. I mean, does he not? Like right when they're running through the tee, just a good swift kick, where, and then he's going to go out there and he's going to ball out.
Basically, what was it? Patches of Houlihan and dodgeball with the dude with the glasses. Like, I guess I'm not an angry person. He just whacks him like, "You angry now?"
That's exactly right. All right, if you can catch a wrench, you can catch a dodgeball. All right, Caleb.
Well, you sold me. I'm moving it up from an A- to an A. See, I listen to Dave sometimes.
There we go. I appreciate that.
Running back is an A-. Would be an A+ because I love the way Dylan Sampson played. I love the way Peyton Lewis played when he got in there. But the Dylan Sampson fumble, you have to downgrade it to an A-. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Anytime there's a fumble, I never gave an A. And most of the times I wouldn't even give more than a B+ when there was a fumble. But as you mentioned, it was a well-timed fumble. All right. So receivers and tight ends, I thought if you want to do tight ends first, I thought they were a big part of the game plan. That was obvious early.
Yes. Tight ends are another A-. Now, the reason they're not a little bit higher is there's a Miles Kitselman. You say drop, I say not drop it. We can debate that. But I also think that I think it was a lot more about scheming and the way the defense played than it was the tight ends just decided we're going to step up today and, carry this team. I don't think there was like some conscious decision by them to do that.
By the tight ends or by the coaches?
By the tight ends. I don't think the tight ends just upped their level of play. I think there was a lot of extra scheming going on in this game.
Yeah, I think they had more opportunities because the coaches said the tight ends are going to lead us to victory. And they would have. If Miles Kitselman, again, we can debate whether or not he should have caught that. But if that pass is complete for a touchdown, no matter whose fault it is or no matter who's culpable for it being an incomplete pass, then Tennessee is winning with tight end play at that point, because Kitselman was a big part of the passing attack, and even Stays caught a pass or two. All right, receivers, what do you give those guys?
I'm sorry. If not for Brew, I'm giving it up, but Brew played well enough for me to give this unit a D+. But it's in the D range.
I don't have a problem with that.
There was not a lot of separation a lot of times. When there was separation, Nimrod and Brazel just had two bad drops, two of the worst drops I've seen. And they just didn't. And also, I want to say another part of the receiver play that was bad, Dave, that's not talked about enough. The blocking was atrocious on those screenplays by the receivers. And
Yeah,
that's a
that's
huge part of
fair.
this game.
No, that's fair. Finish this sentence, Caleb, and think about it for a second before we get to the offensive line. I'm most dismayed with, I got wide receivers, Max Gilbert, and then we'll open it up to you. Go ahead and fill it in.
Oh, my
If
other
you
one's is easy for me because I want to
okay.
we got to get to them on defense, but they're pretty easy for me.
All right. So I'm most dismayed with right after this. The last look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn.
To visit ccteyes.com. The information you need is easy to access, and setting an appointment is as simple as clicking the tab. Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn, and Eye Care Optical at ccteyes.com. Simply the best.
Dismayed with wide receivers, Max Gilbert coaching. What else? Linebackers.
And
Okay,
I'll get to them in a
if you
second.
had a pick from that group.
Linebackers. I'm still linebackers.
Okay. I would say Max Gilbert. I mean, you just can't go. You can't miss your first 3 field goals.
If Max Gilbert were a sophomore, I'd agree with you. He's a first-year starter. Always give the break to first-year starters in college. They're good for a game like this. They're allowed a mulligan. Is that fair?
Yeah. Okay. I can roll with that. But the mulligan could have cost you a shot at the college football playoff.
Yes, but they get a mulligan game. He got his mulligan game. It's over now. He doesn't get another one, but he got his mulligan game.
When you're a defensive team, man, I go back to that Jeff Hall mention that you made earlier. If they don't
Jeff
have
Hall never needed a mulligan game.
Right, but he hit some clutch field goals. And that's what you have to have with a defensive team. All right, so on the other side of the ball, let's give.
Well, wait, we haven't done offensive line yet.
Oh, we haven't done offensive line yet. I'm sorry.
Which is, you tell me if I'm crazy on this, but B-. I think John Campbell's holding penalty early was bad. Lance Hurd missed a block late that almost got Nico sacked. So I'm going B- because of the tackles. I'm not sitting here calling the tackle special. Am I a little too harsh?
Yeah, I would probably go A-, actually.
All right,
because of the way they controlled the game in the second half and leaning on them. That's who they are.
Okay, so let's compromise and go B+. How's that? I
can work with that. All right, flipping to the defensive side. What do you got, Caleb?
All right, defensive line, I'm going B+. We've talked about them about how they could have been an A, but at the same time, they had issues because they didn't play with their hair on fire. But look, when they needed to step up, they stepped up. Amari Thomas had a sack. Joshua Josephs had a strip sack. James Pierce had a sack. I can't take that away from them, Dave. And then they had a hurry that forced the Will Brooks interception. So they did what they needed to do when it mattered.
True, but you don't want them to be light switch guys. You don't want them to think, oh, we can just flip it on in the second half if things aren't going well and win this football game. That would be my concern if I'm Tim Banks, Tennessee's defensive coordinator, moving forward. Are they a little too cocky where they don't bring it on each and every play? And if they don't, get your rear out of the game because there are other guys that can play. They go 10, 12 deep. By the way, Tennessee, come on. The student section calling a player. Did you hear the chant, Caleb?
What did they say? I heard them booing a player go down, but what did they say?
You're a reference to someone that's soft in a very crude way of saying
female anatomy part?
Yes. Vols time, thank you again. He contributes to the Quincy Calhoun College Fund. Will Brew McCoy score a touchdown this year? I think so. But as long as he just keeps stringing along, the cookie company gets more pub. So maybe it's a good thing if he doesn't. All right, Caleb, flipping to, you go linebackers next, front to back.
Yep, linebackers. And this is where I come in and say a D, a straight up D. Kentucky ran the ball way too well, averaging 4.5 yards a carry. This is not a good rushing team. This is actually an awful rushing team. Kentucky is. And the linebackers were out of position all night. And Jeremiah Thielander did recover a fumble. I'm not giving him credit for that. That was Joshua Josephs with the strip sack. But Arian Carter was out of position plenty of times too, but Jeremiah Thielander had an awful game.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I think you're being a little hard on the linebackers. I mean, Kentucky averaged 4.5 yards per rush. That includes the quarterbacks. And I do give T-Lander credit for being Johnny on the spot and making that play. And I thought he made another play on the outside. I still think he's new. I think that if it's Keenan Pili in there, we're discussing whether or not it's an A or a B. But T-Lander is still learning. So go to the secondary. What do you got?
And secondary, I'm going A-. The only reason it's not higher, someone brought it up, but Boo got out of position quite a few times, and that messed up a lot of the plays too. Boo Carter did, but Andre Turrentine had his best game. He had an interception, and obviously Will Brooks had that key interception. That should have been a touchdown, but unfortunately he's white and he ran like it. But
what did you give the defensive line again?
A B+.
Okay. I'm knocking that down to a B, and here's why. Omar Norman Lott on the sideline, not even in the game, with the two-handed shove on Brock Vandegrift to knock him down. You have heard me multiple times say I like a defense that plays nasty. I like the fact that Keenan Pili got a late hit. I like the fact that Boo Carter is hitting people off the sideline. But if you're not even in the dad blame game, you don't need to be knocking people down. He clearly, that was a two-handed shove by a man who probably bench presses 550 pounds, knocking that guy to the ground. I thought that would have, if I was Josh Heupel, I'm not sure that he would have gotten back in the game.
Okay.
Too strong?
Yeah, that's too strong. You want a little bit of players playing with their hair on fire. You've talked about that. I love
the anger. I love that about this defense, but you got to at least be in the game. If you play past the whistle, I can get that if you're in the game. If you're just standing on the sideline, I mean, I haven't even seen anybody shoved like that on the sideline. So I just think that's not smart.
Oh, well, there was a moment in it was back in 1954 because I'm a history guy myself. But an Alabama player named Tommy Lewis tackled a Rice running back, ran off the bench to tackle a Rice running back that was running for a touchdown in the Cotton Bowl.
Right, and you remember that 70 years later. You wouldn't want Omar Norman Lott to do something like that, where 70 years from now, we're doing Last Look brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hunter, saying, you remember that Omar Norman Lott play when he killed that guy because he shoved him with two hands? Hit the like and subscribe.
How about Mike Tomlin when Mike Tomlin stood in front of Jacoby Jones and kind of tripped him up on a kickoff return for a touchdown, and he was like, I was just looking at the scoreboard, Jumbotron play.
I actually am surprised people don't run off the sidelines more often. If you've ever been on the sidelines, I mean, there's a tendency to, I think, for players to run out there. All right, what do we got next, Caleb?
All right, we got to go to special teams.
I mean, that's
punting.
Enough.
Well, punting is a C-. Jackson Ross was not good himself. He wasn't terrible, but he wasn't great. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And yes, you're right. Place kicking is enough. Can we do F+? Because, Josh Turbeville was fine on kickoffs, all touchbacks.
No.
You don't get it. You don't get any extra. You're saying kickoffs don't count?
Missed 3 field goals, and it keeps the game close. I mean, I know 3 points is just 3 points, and it's not 7, but you tack on a 3 with that Kentucky offense, and they're feeling a little bit more pressure, aren't they? At any point in the game. I don't care if it's the first quarter. I mean, they're feeling a little bit of pressure like they got to catch up.
Hey, but those kickoffs, man, those kickoffs.
Yeah, those are gnarly. Yeah, those are
that's like when you talk about a player and you're like, he sets an amazing pick. He's one of the best setters of picks I've ever seen in basketball.
I was a great pick setter. You know what that means? I couldn't shoot. All right, I still
It
can't.
also, hey guys, it also means you're not packing in a certain area because that's the only way you can take those hits. I'm kidding, Dave.
You got to cover up. All right, so so we got special teams. What about coaching?
Well, we're not done with special teams yet because I have to bring this up because it didn't prove costly, but it's going to eventually. Return game gives a D- because Jermon McCoy keeps fielding punts he shouldn't be fielding, and at some point he's going to field a punt he shouldn't field, and somebody's going to recover it.
Yep, agree with that. Let's open it up to
coaching.
Yes.
And coaching, by the way, I think coaching's an A. I don't think coaching was a problem. I think it was just too many mistakes in the game.
Yeah, but I mean, doesn't that all tie back to coaching? Doesn't that all tie back to this team felt a little bit too good about itself in the preseason? and they were told how great they were. Yeah, I think Josh Heupel will probably change his approach a little bit headed into next year, because we heard about how great these receivers were, and I'm not sure that I'm not sure he's going to take that same preseason approach in the future.
Well, possibly, but he also has a team with this preseason approach that is now 7-1 and in very good position for the college football playoff.
Fair.